Hey, happy Wednesday, Wrestling Wednesday. How's everybody doing today? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are your ears right now?
They've blown out. If anybody's watching on the youtube.com/1080am The Fan, they saw Jeff Rust whispered sweet nothing into my ear before the show, and it blew my eardrums out.
I don't know why it's so much hotter when your mics are off than when they're on, but there's some sort of a difference there.
Yeah.
It is there.
Yeah.
It is 100% there, which is why you ever see me? I'm not doing things under the table. I'm adjusting my volume.
I don't believe
A
you.
likely story?
I don't believe.
A lot of volume adjusting going on here.
Likely story.
Lots of it.
Well,
Sure, Jan.
we are live right here on the Fan and youtube.com/1080am The Fan and twitch.com/1080am The Fan.
We kept the same thread through.
When did we do we still do backslash? Because isn't that when you say a website, isn't that kind of implied now?
Yeah.
It's implied. It's just like
you can just say
let's just cut that off, you know?
Yeah.
But we used to do it all the time. Huh?
It's a normal slash.
Yeah, but it's backslash.
No, the backslash is the other way. It is. We just did it. We used the nomenclature incorrectly, and it's one of those things that just stuck. Yeah.
I love seeing those threads. I effing love science. Will do this all the time. They're good for it about once, like every 3 months or so. They throw out what is something you learned in school that is no longer factual? It's like, whoa, here we go. Here's a journey that we're gonna go down.
Christopher Columbus?
Christopher Columbus is number one in my brain. And we were taught Christopher Columbus had the first Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims. That's wrong.
Yeah,
the Pilgrims and the natives did not. Christopher Columbus was not there.
Yeah, it turns out growing up in the 70s for Jeff, but 80s, those school books that were created in the 50s and 60s that we had, told some lies.
A lot of them.
There's
a lot of them out there. And the biggest one though is when your math teacher would tell you all the time that, hey, I just want to let you know that you're not going to have a calculator with you all the time when you go out into the real world. It's like, yeah, right. Look at me now. Which, does that change how we math now in schools? Because my kids come home with math that I don't understand.
I refuse to do the new math. I refused. It's perplexing. Like, I'm no math dummy. I was always pretty good at math, and I don't know what. Look, I have literal math degrees. Like, I was doing it in advanced calculations for munitions trajectories by hand. I refuse to do the new math. It is the dumbest thing possible.
You know what's crazy is I vividly remember memorizing multiplication tables.
Mm-hmm.
They actually math those now. It's like they are actually figuring it. It's like, no, I just had that seared into my brain, and it worked. I still know.
I had a toy, quote unquote, that was a square with push buttons on it, and it had up to 12, like a 12 by 12 square.
Yeah, your toy sucked.
Yeah, no, it was. But you
abacus?
No, you push the button in, it gave you the answer. It was like scribbled on the inside of the button above it or below it. I can't remember what it was, but that way you could do quick check, but that you just memorized it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with memorizing it. There's nothing wrong with memorizing it. I'm okay with memorizing.
I mean,
we need to go
do the math on that, but it helped to memorize it because the basic ones you always use.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm like, we should go back to math. I can't do simple math right now. I mean, it's hard, very hard for me. So maybe they are onto something right now.
I always the thing that I always love is when you would counter with, "I'm never going to use this when I'm growing up." Like, "Oh, you'll use it," and then I got to be an adult and I went, "He was so full of crap."
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not even just in math; just a lot of things. And then the things that we didn't focus on, like the home ec and car repairs, auto shop, the wood shop, like things that are
we were like, we need
actually useful on a day-to-day basis.
We need to get away from that.
Yeah, that's the stuff. It's like, maybe we could have cut calculus for a big percentage of the school because I don't know, 0.01% of us are using it in our daily life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we pushing calculus on the masses?
I don't know.
Think about that for a second. Like, I was done with high school math my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
I took calculus and I took college courses my junior and senior year for math. Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Well, because some people need it in their jobs. I'm not.
Very few of them need it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like,
I think that
seems like a good spot for the trade school folks.
In all honesty, like middle school and high school, the classes that I use on a day-to-day more than any other ones are 8th grade wood shop, home economics. Well, it was actually gourmet cooking. It was gourmet cooking, and then textiles, which was like learning how to sew and repair things.
Yes,
those 3 I use more
viable
than most things. Obviously,
physics.
Knowing how to
physics
read.
Is the advanced thing that we should focus on more.
Sure,
understanding physics helps you understand very, very simple things like leverage.
Yeah, this one, the Columbus thing, was never taught in schools. That texture on the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. That is coming in. I know. I remember. He's like the Mandela effect is strong today. I remember. I
did a play work with Christopher Columbus and Indians. So yeah, it was 100% taught.
That's just it was not.
We did the Thanksgiving play where you had a table full of Indians and you had a table full of pilgrims, and they came together.
Yeah.
So
that did happen, but Christopher Columbus was not there.
No,
he was not there.
No,
he was not
100%.
there.
But yeah, this whole idea that
and not a good guy.
In school. Yeah, no, it was 100% taught. In
and he's not a good guy.
Yeah, no, terrible.
Not a good guy. And I think we're teaching that now, which is good.
Here's the thing: there wasn't a single explorer that was good. None of them from anywhere.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Leif Erikson.
Turns out all of them really bad.
Yeah, who knew?
Those aren't the ones that just cross the oceans. Those are the ones that run other continents already.
Yeah, and people. And what I think is
Genghis Khan, historically not a great dude.
What I think is amazing now is that people are like, God, they were just brutal and savages back then when they would go to somebody else's land and they would just like kill them. I'm like, have you seen how we act to people who are different today?
Yeah,
because we. Like it's not like we're
the highly educated people that we are. It hasn't changed much. It's just more advanced killing.
Yes, as this texter says, Pilgrims and Christopher Columbus are not the same thing. Exactly. But in school they were melded together.
Yes,
that should not be in the same lesson. And it was.
Yes, endlessly.
I think we changed that, though. I think we've changed that. And as this says now, teach kids personal finance in high school. I have been on this train for so long.
We had a class called personal finance that we were required to take our senior year.
Well,
taught us how to balance a checkbook and everything.
Yeah, balancing a checkbook, though, and it didn't evolve because I remember when I was in my personal finance class.
When I took it.
Well, it was 2003 when I took it, and it was like, remember my economics teacher, Mr. Ferris, he said, it's changing, guys. You guys aren't going to need to, but this is the curriculum. So we blasted through that. But he's like, here's what you guys are going to need.
It's still the same.
At least he set us up.
Balance out of balance your finances.
Knowing how much money's in your account.
But not just that, like the simple things of like, this sounds crazy, but like understanding interest rates and prime rates and how a mortgage works and basic investing. Like those, like the fact that we're not teaching kids those things just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And then you get to a housing crisis and you have a bunch of people under the age of 30 who are, what? Why is this important to me? And they have no idea why. And it's like, then you have idiots like me who end up buying a house during a pandemic.
Well, it was great for me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It ended up being great. My interest rate is so great, I can literally never refinance my house.
This texture's like, you went to terrible schools. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Ding, 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 ding. I went to the biggest school in the state, ladies and gentlemen. They were just pushing it through like a puppy mill. Shout out, Beaverton.
The YouTube chat. Remember when Pluto was a planet? You guys remember that?
I thought it was back. I thought wasn't it back?
Look, for me, that's a whole Twitter X thing. Pluto's always going to be a planet, damn it.
Yeah, no, see,
it's real to me, damn it.
When all of us were in school, Pluto was a planet.
Yeah.
We did the little...
What changed since then? Nothing. Pluto's the same as it ever was, just like the Talking Heads.
They're just sitting there, and they're like, well, we just got more now.
Yeah.
They're just further out there.
Did they change the guidelines? That's not Pluto's fault.
Yeah, it's all very dumb.
No. Yeah. Actually, yes, they did change the guidelines.
Well, again,
I think that's
Pluto should be grandfathered in.
Yes, like the grandfather clause. Yeah,
yeah.
From here on out, no more Plutos.
One of my favorite shows, Psych. Gus, Burton Guster, he always says...
That is one of your favorite shows. It always throws me for a loop.
He has the pickup line, you hear about Pluto? That's messed up. Hey, you hear about Pluto?
Look,
that's messed up.
I can see that working. I can see that working. Because it's either straight over the top, or it's like, that's so dumb, it's genius.
You hear about Pluto?
Yeah, you're using that. You're trying to land a particular girl. 100%. And so if it lands, it's gonna go off like a grenade in an enclosed room. It's gonna be fantastic. Nobody's getting away out of that.
Yeah, we need to teach people how to set up a retirement or what their retirement does for them. We should just like personal finance.
Yes,
in high school,
how money works.
How compound interest works.
Yes. Oh my.
Let's go over that a little bit. Like in detail. Maybe don't save that for the senior year. Maybe like work your way up, like starting in your freshman year.
You should be taking it every year.
Yeah,
taking a more advanced version of it. Like, if they were really great about it, like, find a way to take a kid and just have it take $1. Put $1 in an account and show the actual math as they go through high school.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with you on that.
Just, hey, 4 years later, through all the things you've done, ding, 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 ding. Now, if you multiply this by 100, now you understand the math behind it.
All right. In Switzerland, you graduate in 9th grade. By then, they learn 3 languages. Oops. I clicked right out of that. They also learn skills that help in real life. The apprenticeship straight after. My uncle's apprenticeship was in engineering. He made 6 figures at 21 years old with no debt.
Yeah, no, trade school stuff is
Sounds
insane.
like they figured that out.
My dad is a PhD in electrical engineering, and he had like $15,000 worth of school.
P15 says, Space Nerd, the Pluto thing actually did change and is still an argument. It's complicated.
It's a planet.
Yeah, see?
It's a planet.
I'm holding pat. I'm digging in.
Well, I heard it on the radio, so it's definitely a planet. According to this show, we are pro Pluto, and we'll die on that vine. We'll die on that vine. We are This is a pro Pluto radio broadcast. There we go. All right. Well, we just fixed the education system. What we got a lot. Look,
that was actually very productive.
We got 2 hours and 45 minutes left.
Not too bad.
All right, next Middle East. Saw that. No, you think that's going to take a little bit longer than 2 hours and 45 minutes?
Well, we can try.
All right. Well, we will.
We tackled the education system in 15 minutes, so there's hope.
All right. Well, how about we turn our sights from maybe Middle East on the back burner? We could figure out that later. Let's try to figure out what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks because we've got a lot of shots fired from JJ Redick yesterday where we played that audio to Giannis Antetokounmpo today with more in elaborating on whose team is it and life advice from Shaquille O'Neal. This is Danny Dusty on The Fan. Ric Flair, baby. Wrestling Wednesday.
As much as it is associated with Ric Flair, I still think of Spaceballs.
Or Space Odyssey.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a lot of places you could go with. This song is great, and it was perfect for Ric Flair.
Yes.
The ultimate heel. I hated Ric Flair.
The pacing down the ramp.
I was a
as
Hulkamaniac.
slow as humanly possible.
I was a Hulkamaniac, and I was proud of it. I was not a Ric Flair guy until I came to my senses. And now I'm very pro Ric Flair.
Indeed.
All right, the All-Star break is coming and going. Tomorrow we get games back in the NBA.
Whee!
Hey!
Practice actually starts today.
We talking about practice?
Yeah, guys are back. It's weird.
There's talk about practice.
There's actually a timeline. The teams actually can't practice until typically teams would be allowed to practice and be back to, and we have like a noon practice availability. But today they have a 4:00 one, so I can go.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
look at that!
I was like, yeah, it's one of like the 6 I get to go to every year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks were a big topic of conversation around All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, when you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, this core that it should be a title contending team, and as it currently stands, they are sitting third in the Eastern Conference standings, 3-7 over their last 10, all 10 games with Doc Rivers as their head coach, and it's been a sputter. We heard a lot of what JJ Redick said yesterday, and just basically flat out saying Doc Rivers doesn't take accountability for anything, and then you hear all of the clips of what Doc Rivers had said and kind of all of the excuses that he had given as to why they were 3-7 in the first 10 games and how hard the road trip was and how difficult the schedule was and playing at elevation and all those things. But it's also like, hey, you're still one of the most talented rosters in the NBA. You probably shouldn't be making excuses like that.
No. There's a lot of that going on as it pertains to the coaching side, but the personnel side of things, they're still figuring things out. You know, when the Bucks came through here, I got a chance to talk to Dame about kind of what's going on with the team and where they are and what they're kind of working through. And they were still kind of going through roles and understanding who does what, when, where, why. And everybody wants to say, well, you know, it's this, you should be able to just do this. And that's just not reality.
The Miami Heat did not win a title their first year.
And the thing is, I still think the Bucks can figure this out because the talent is so overwhelming and because there is such parity in the league. Anthony Simons hopped on the podcast last night, and he said something very tangential to this. He goes, most playoff teams, they've been together for 3 or 4 years. And he goes, unless something magical clicks, and you almost never see that. But you have to go through 3 or 4 years to truly understand your teammates. All the intricacies and the ins and outs and just kind of feel and reaction, knowing exactly what you need to do. Like, it's built on years, not weeks, not months, years. And this team has, 55 games together? And they've had periods where guys have been dinged up, both Dame and Middleton, and trying to figure things out with a new coaching staff. And then the coaching staff, the continuity that you could have had with Terry Stotts goes out the window before season even starts. Then you fire Griffin. Then you bring in Prunty as the interim. Then you bring in Doc. It is just this evolving door of voices and inconsistency. What Giannis has come out and said, Eric Nehm of The Athletic, Eric Nehm's the best beat reporter The Athletic has.
Covers the Bucks.
Covers the Bucks. Absolutely fantastic. Knows the ins and outs of the game and has great relationships with the players, particularly Giannis, because he's been there forever. But there's speaking of the intricacies, Giannis said this about Chris Middleton and then Dame. The other thing is this: you've got to give him space. Talking about Middleton, you got to give him space. Like, he's not Chris. You don't always need to set screens for him in order to get the little space to operate for the floor, for the mid range, for the space or two, or behind the screen there. Chris is kind of different. When it comes to Dame, though, sometimes you've got to give him space. When I come down and you see that I'm on the right side and he's on the left side, I always throw the ball sideways to him, because once they're loading and I throw it there, he just operates. That's been helping the team, which is actually kind of a different twist, because teams, both Giannis and Dame, here's something for the film nerds. They both like to come down the right side of the floor. Because what does Dame like to do? Right to left, split between the legs, get to his left hand. It's easier to do that on the right-hand side of the floor. That is your natural spot. Think about where Dame hit his shot over Paul George.
Absolutely.
So you think about the .9 against Houston. Even though it happens on the left side of the floor, where does it originate?
Yeah, he
right to
went
left.
right to left. Went back to the left.
And typically
back into the left.
Right-handed players typically want to get to their left hand to create. And so Dame is learning how to operate more on the left side of the floor because Giannis wants to get downhill from the right-hand side of the floor. That is a subtle but very different change. It is a different side of the floor. So when Dame goes, he has to push to his right to get back to his left to get into that step back that he always goes to. So that's just a very, very simple intricacy that you have to work through, is that sometimes Giannis is going to grab and go and initiate the offense from the other side of the floor.
And that doesn't matter who your coach is.
Yeah.
Like none of that.
Doesn't matter.
Adrian Griffin, Joe Prunty, Doc Rivers, does not matter.
That's between those two guys to figure out when and where that's going to happen.
And that's
then flowing into it.
That's why one of my biggest kind of concerns with them is Brook Lopez does not look like he is happy.
He doesn't look like he's fitting offensively. Defensively, he's fine, but
defensively, he looks frustrated because Beasley and Dame are not good defenders.
Yeah, you can't have them both out there together.
Yeah, and like
which is why they went and got Pat Beverley.
You can watch their games, and he just is like you see he's demonstrative with his body language, and he just looks fed up.
Yeah.
And like that's a big problem.
No, it is. It is. It's a lack of size at the point of attack. And even though Pat Bev's not bigger, he plays bigger. Look, I don't like Pat Bev, but the effort and intensity is always going to be there. And with Beasley and Dame, Beasley's tiny. Like he's just getting because he's going to end up taking the more difficult of the assignments defensively because Dame has much more of the offensive burden, which people always tend to forget that. Like when you have a usage rate that's like 28% or higher, it's very hard to play defense.
Sure is.
It's just, it is what it is when you have that kind of creation burden. And even though he has less of one than he did in Portland, it's still very large. So you have a subpar defender in Beasley taking on primary assignments, and now they're hunting that, which means they're in rotation more consistently. So they've kind of had to figure some things out and be a team that kind of goes back to the principles that Mike Budenholzer originally put in, which is kind of hilarious.
But this is where I go to what Shaquille O'Neal said to Damian Lillard on the set of the NBA on TNT during All-Star festivities. This is, I think, something that both Giannis and Dame can both learn from. Mm-hmm. And usually you don't hear this on TV in front of the national audience. It's not like I find it funny that Shaq couldn't find like 30 seconds to pull Dame aside, but we all get to hear it, and I appreciate that we do.
For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always
that's
be
not. That's we recorded right over that Shaq spot. That seems to be Austin Rivers responding to JJ Redick. Guys. But what Shaq said was this team, Dame and Giannis,
mm-hmm.
they can't play nice guy anymore.
No, they have to establish the pecking order. And that was something that I had heard coming out, was that Doc was helping with that. That Griffin, because he was hired by basically Giannis gave the green light, that there was a hesitance or a reticence to put down his foot. And not only as a first-year coach, he couldn't. Where Doc, it doesn't matter what you think about him, whether you side with JJ Redick or you side with another player, whatever. Doc does have respect. He does have a ring. And that does carry real weight in that locker room. And so you get hey, this is what you're going to do if you want to win. If you don't want to win, I'm going to go out there in the public and I'm going to throw you under the bus because I've told you what you need to do to win. I've been there. And regardless of the playoff failures, blah, 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 he does get the whole pecking order thing. And he's able to communicate that. And from what I understand, that has been pushed down to them. So, and let's see what comes out of it.
This is going to be the interesting part because the pecking order was Giannis was 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would be Middleton and Drew. Now Middleton's been pushed down
to 3.
And no longer 2 anymore. That is going to take, and we're seeing that especially with him being out earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. That adjustment did not go as smoothly as we would think, or the Milwaukee Bucks had hoped it would go. But now you're sitting there, all right, is this something that both those guys are going to buy into, where if you're at the top of that pecking order, you got to be the ones that, as Shaq put it, you can't be nice. Yeah, like the nice has got to stop because they've got some real issues that they've got to work through, both on the floor, like you started this conversation with, mm-hmm. and then off the floor in the locker room and in the practice and facility where they need to figure those things out. And those are two completely different issues, but are leading to this team seemingly underachieving, yet still being in the third spot in the East and probably going to be the 1 seed if they make the charge that we think they can.
That's the thing is Giannis addressed it publicly here with Nem. Nem closed the article with this quote from Giannis. I am his biggest fan. Giannis talking about Dame. Good or bad, I ride with Dame until the bleeping end. I ride with Dame. Like I've been saying this over and over again. This is his team. Down the stretch, he's going to get the ball. There's nothing else that we will do. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know what else to say. But at the end of the day, he has to believe it too.
And this is where Milwaukee has got they're going to have some come to Jesus moments here, is because coming out of the All-Star break, they have the third toughest remaining schedule of any team in the NBA.
They're going to get tested.
They have got only behind Phoenix and San Antonio. So if you think San Antonio's bad now, just wait till this back half of the season. But they've got 2 with Boston, 2 with OKC, 2 with the Clippers, who are playing some of the best ball in the NBA. Those are still remaining down their schedule. They have to work through this, and they got to get it going really quickly because they have got Minnesota on Friday, I think is when they come out of the break. And then they have Philly, and then you have about 3 games where you'll be able to work through some stuff with a back-to-back with Charlotte and then Chicago. Then they have the real nuts and bolts of this schedule gets very difficult very quickly, where it is Clippers, Golden State, Lakers, Clippers, Kings, Sixers, Suns, Celtics. That is a gauntlet. So if Doc Rivers is complaining about a tough road trip that they've got a tough stretch of about 7 games coming out of right after this All-Star break starts up, where they're going to be tested and they got to figure it out in short order.
It's going to be interesting. It's kind of funny. All of the NBA shows are leading with this today.
What I find very interesting is and we know that this was going to happen. Something that was unquestioned here in Portland is now being questioned. Does Dame make people better? And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. Watch what the Portland Trailblazers did when he was off the floor compared to when they were on the floor. Watch how guys in the criticisms when Dame got shut down the last 2 years at the end of the year, they were saying, I can't get open. I can't operate like this. He made the gravity around Damian Lillard offensively made everybody around him better.
And you can argue whether or not you believe Dame makes things better for you. I will tell you the math behind it. He has one of the largest gravities quantifiable, because for those that don't know, the tracking software can actually track gravity based by how defenses adjust via the tracking software, how defenses adjust to a player's movement. Dame has one of the biggest gravities in the entire.
Did they win a title this year?
If they stay healthy, they have a legitimate chance, I believe. It would buck the trend. Get it? Buck the trend.
Hey-o.
It would buck the trend of first year kind of quote unquote super teams getting it done. But I do believe that Dame Giannis is the best 1-2 combo in the NBA. And come playoff time, when basketball changes, they haven't figured it out yet. They are the 3rd best pick and roll pairing in the league. And they haven't figured it out yet.
All right. 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. Well, let's stay in the NBA because is he next? Here's Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, still a dark night in the NBA as players regroup from All-Star Weekend. A 12-game slate tomorrow night, though, in the association. TNT's doubleheader starts with the Suns at the Mavericks in the early game, followed by the Lakers at the Warriors. Oregon men's basketball looking to gain a little momentum as they close out the regular season. They currently sit 3rd in the Pac-12. They are at the Stanford Cardinal tomorrow night. We'll have coverage right here on The Fan starting at 7:30, tip at 8 o'clock, and can be seen on ESPN2. Oregon State men looking to snap a 6-game skid tomorrow night at Cal. That'll be a 7 o'clock tip on Pac-12 Network. Number 9, Oregon State women's coach Scott Rueck has been named to the Naismith College Coach of the Year watch list. The Beavers were picked to finish 10th in the Pac-12 in the preseason. The Pilots, a 4-game losing streak of their own, Ending that tomorrow night will be a tall task with Gonzaga hitting the Chiles Center. Tip at 6 o'clock. Coverage on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 5:30. And Eric Hosmer has announced his retirement after 14 years. The four-time Gold Glover helped lead the Royals to the 2015 World Series title. Hosmer played for Kansas City, San Diego, Boston, and the Chicago Cubs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
Familiar with this one, Rust?
Little Big John Stud.
Big John Stud.
Big John Stud.
Definitely don't Google that.
Yeah, I feel like that may be. That's a work computer. It's show research.
Yeah.
I can go to Big John Stud.
Little, early
Safe
80s
search.
wrestler, early mid 80s.
Off. Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I remember Big John Stud. Yeah, all right. I'm here. Okay. The latest betting odds, okay, from sportsbetting.ag. The next coach fired in the NBA, plus 200 odds. Chauncey Billups on that list.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these odds are made up.
Darvin Ham, Steve Clifford in Charlotte, Monty Williams in Detroit, Quinn Snyder in Atlanta, Billy Donovan in Chicago.
That's how you know that they're made up right there.
Taylor Jenkins in Memphis.
Is that those last three, there is a 0% chance of them getting fired.
I will say that they are plus 1,200, plus 2,500, and plus 3,300, whereas Chauncey's plus 200, Ham is plus 250 along with Steve Clifford.
I would put Clifford at the top of that list.
Steve Clifford, Charlotte Hornets.
He is basically throwing his hands up in the air, and Mitch Kupchak has moved into a senior advisory role.
Yeah, when that shift starts, then you're sitting there going,
well, the new GM is going to want their coach. Like, that's ultimately how I think this is going to go.
That's how you do it.
I have received zero indication that the Blazers are considering any kind of change in the coaching in the head coaching seat.
Okay, so
for
the Chauncey haters, it's not you.
Look, I checked in even during that road trip, and I got nothing.
Okay, like when it was at its worst.
At its worst, and
when they're losing by 50,
60, 62.
62. Yikes. This season's been bad. Blazers have a really tough schedule, so it's not going to get better for them either.
No, they have a tough schedule down the stretch, and I'm looking at the rest disadvantage games they kind of have coming up. And well, there's a chart that's out there. Positive Residuals is somebody who does some very, 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 very cool work in data viz across sports analytics, and he shows kind of as the schedule goes, the by month a game like a normal calendar, but it also tracks advantage and disadvantage via rest. The Blazers, basically the entire month of March, are in the red. And that is because, number one, they're on the road. Number two, their rest disadvantage, meaning that the team that they're playing has more rest going into the game. Now, they don't have it a ton. I think they only have one, and that's early March, one real 2 to 3 day rest disadvantage game. And that's against the Timberwolves, which
they were going to win anyways.
Yeah,
I saw them play 2 games against them, and one they kept tight for a while.
Well, they played the one on the road where they got smacked.
No,
after
2 back. I'm just saying 2 back to back like a week ago.
Oh yeah,
where they got
and they're really
pumped.
good. They're really good.
They are.
I wondered about that team because there's something to be said about seeing a team in person. Like you watch all the tape, but when you see them in person, you're like, okay, let me kind of see what the adjustments look like live.
Chris Finch has done an incredible job
has.
getting those guys. Some guys the questions have been, Ant Edwards, how much does he actually love and care about basketball? Karl Anthony Towns, and this is going to be the big one. Can he get Karl Anthony Towns to engage when the lights are the brightest in the playoffs? Because that's where he's done his disappearing act.
One of the worst playoff all-stars of all time.
And that, to me, that's going to be the interesting one. Because he's gotten Ant Edwards to give a whole hell of a lot.
Oh, yeah. He's an absolute dude. I mean, both games against Portland, he was incredible. Rudy Gobert's back is healthy, and now he doesn't have to chase all the way out to three-point line and recover with no help. Because they have Jaden McDaniels, who's a defensive player of the year caliber defensive wing. Like, talking to Ant and JG about Jaden McDaniels, they're like, he's different. He's a legitimate 6'10". Like, he's terrifying defensively.
Lord.
He covers ground. We're going to be talking about him in 2 to 3 years, like I was talking about OG Anunoby early on, of like, guys, this is the best defensive wing stopper in the league. We're going to talk about Jaden like that.
That'd be awesome for Portland to draft one of those.
Are you really trying to trigger me right now?
Yes.
God.
But the reality is plus 200 on Chauncey being the next head coach fired. He does have the best odds of anybody, according to Vegas, to get fired next. I think there is a realization that here in Portland, with the fan base, is completely different than what the organization feels about Chauncey Billups.
And not only just the organization, the players.
The players as well. And we'll get to that because you did on Jack Ramsey's. Go check out on YouTube the Jack Ramsey's interview that you had with Ant yesterday. Not Ant Edwards. Anthony Simons. It was really good, and it shed a lot of light as to how the players are reacting to Chauncey Billups. Now, of course, a player is going to say, I got my coaches back, but we'll play a snippet of it for you guys a little bit later in the show. There is far more there.
There's different than we're fine. It wasn't the
Jackson Smith and Jigba on
no, and it wasn't
Shane Waldron.
And it wasn't the stamp of approval or a nod of endorsement.
It's a little bit deeper than that. And the reality of it is, if you think Chauncey Billups is the problem, he has got his warts. This team is not ready yet.
Yes.
And we are seeing growth out of them in this. Will he be the guy to get the Blazers over the hump? Maybe. And we can start those criticisms later. Because right now, there is no coach in the NBA that is going to come in and take this over in a rebuild and say, yeah, I'm going to take this team to the playoffs this year or next year.
Yeah.
It's not going to that is not going to happen. So we could start these conversations a little bit later. But it does not appear Chauncey's on the chopping block anytime in the near future.
No, and if the Blazers are going to make a change, I think they might try to add somebody to his staff in the offseason. Like there's been you want to hear something insane in the NBA? There's been rumblings about Jamal Mosley in Orlando being fired.
But when you have a team that they've drafted, they've gone through the rebuild, they feel like they have a roster that's ready.
He's taken them through the steps that Chauncey is taking them through right now. Now you go get the veteran coach or whatever, which I think is entirely unfair because I think Mosley has done a great job with them.
They just can't shoot.
But yes, and that's, again, I think a roster problem as opposed to a coaching problem. But one thing to remember, or one thing to know, Jamal Mosley is Chauncey Billups' recruit at Colorado.
Oh.
When he came in for a visit, guess who led him on his visit?
Old Chauncey Billups.
So there's a very tight relationship there. So if that was a move that Orlando made, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers kind of went that way if Mosley didn't get a lead share somewhere else.
Interesting. All right. We got coming up next a little nugget that came out of the 5-7 college football playoff realignment that is quite something. We got a power grab happening right now in college football. And the first attempt was unsuccessful. Next on The Fan. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. He does a great job covering the world of college football. Yesterday, it was announced that college football playoff will go to a 5+7 format. Five automatic qualifiers as the highest ranked conference champions. The top 4 conference champions have a first round bye. The next 7 will be at-large bids, and it will be hosted in the very first round on campus for seeds 5 through 8, and then you move on to bowl games. We already knew that was going to happen. The big news out of yesterday was that they acknowledged, though, those first buys, you have to be a conference champ. So Notre Dame, good. If you're top 4,
they're moving to a conference.
Yep. Calling ACC or Big Ten. Calling ACC or Big Ten. But this comes from Dellinger, is Washington State president Kirk Schultz, who he was the deciding vote in this because Oregon State and Washington State were rightfully saying, hey, give us a little something for the effort. If you're going to weasel us out of an automatic bid here, how about a little
hold out for something.
A little something for the pockets. Yeah. And they did. They got a couple extra $1 million. But
which for them means a lot.
Schultz said to Dellinger that the 12-team playoff, 4 automatic qualifiers from one conference was proposed. So if so, it wouldn't just be one. So both the ACC or the SEC and Big Ten, they would each get 4 automatic bids, leaving only 4 bids remaining for 7 conferences and Notre Dame. At that point, if you're looking at it, that becomes the SEC Big Ten Invitational, right? I mean, that's where we're at. Because they were saying, we want 8 bids from the Big Ten and the SEC. No. But this is the power grab that we're all expecting.
This is what we talked about over and over and over again. When there is power to grab, when that vacuum exists, someone's going to come in and take it. No one's going to leave that piece of pie on the table.
Yeah.
Thinking, we're going to save this for later. Whenever the pie is divvied up, someone is going to grab every piece. There's never going to be anything left, which is why Oregon State and Washington State did what they did, because they knew once they gave that up, they weren't getting it back. And Dellinger's latest article was basically highlighting, if you're left behind in this next change,
2026,
you're done. You're done.
And they will be.
And that's why I want to see promotion relegation so bad, because it allows for that churn. It allows for that cycle to continue, because I don't want to see Vanderbilt get a free pass because of their freaking location.
Well, there is, I think the next breakaway that you're going to see here is, we thought that in the 14 playoff, we would get better non-conference games.
Mm-hmm.
And we did.
Yeah.
I think largely we got better non-conference games.
There's still a few in there that you're like, but in general, yes.
With this 12-team playoff not having uniform scheduling still, which is absurd to me that you do not have uniform scheduling when you're trying to accomplish a level playing field. See, they're not trying to accomplish a level playing field by asking for 8 of the 12 bids from the Big Ten and the SEC.
While the SEC is going to continue to play 3 cupcakes a year.
Well, what you're going to do is you're going to see weaker scheduling. Because why in the world, if you're a Big Ten school, like if you're Oregon and Washington, you're sitting there and you're going, okay, so I could have a year where I play, if you're Oregon in this situation, I play Washington. I could play Ohio State, USC, Michigan, and Penn State. Why in the world
would I play anybody else?
Alabama or Miami,
Texas,
or anybody from the Big 12?
Yeah.
It doesn't benefit you at that point. At that point, it behooves you to play a weaker schedule. And what if each of those conferences got 4 automatic bids, then you probably would see the benefit of a tougher non-conference schedule, because then you can afford to have a couple stub your toe games, but you could point across the board and say, hey, we went down and we played Alabama, or we played Georgia. We beat them, and they're in the playoff now too. In the 12-team playoff, with the way that it's set, it benefits you to have more wins than quality non-conference wins.
And it's all very dumb.
It is, but this is the world that we live in right now.
And that's the thing, is we're careening towards the super conference, and everybody knows it, but everyone wants to pretend like it's not a thing. And I don't understand why we just can't say the quiet part out loud. We're gonna cut people out. We're gonna stack this the way that we're gonna stack this because we have the most power, and it's not going to be equitable.
Not one bit. This is going to be a long fight. I'm glad that everybody else won this battle with the Big Ten and the SEC. But as we go on and we look at the decision makers across college football, the two conferences that will be remaining are the Big Ten and the SEC, and it's no more apparent than the power grab that they just asked for in this. Now we move forward with what I believe will be a fantastic 12-team playoff. I think this is going to be great for football.
It is. It's going to be great. And like we talked about yesterday, the whole idea of having the Cinderella runs, I think it's going to be in there.
I'm waiting. I can't wait for it.
Get a Cincinnati, a TCU, a UCF,
Give me more.
Just kind of coming out of nowhere and smacking somebody upside the head and running 2 or 3 games off.
All right. Hour number 1 is in the books. If you missed it, check it out in the Audio Vault on the Odyssey app or 1080thefan.com. Coming up in hour number 2 on The Fan and on youtube.com/1080am The Fan. We've all heard of the Jordan rules. Well, there's one in football now, too. Danny Dusty on The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk. And guys,
number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Still to come. Where there's smoke, there's fire out of Major League Baseball. There's a new article up about expansion in Major League Baseball.
Hey-o! And relocation even.
And we have relocation audio. We have relocation audio coming in.
We have owners leveraging.
So we have that still coming up on the program today. We will hear from Anthony Simons, who went on the Jack Ramsey's podcast with you, my friend.
My guy.
It was really good. Go and listen to it.
It was the best one of these he's ever done.
If this pump of it is not doing it for you, well, we'll play a piece of audio where you go, yeah, I will go and take a listen to that.
I asked Ant about coaching and development and his defense, all things that people like to question.
His what?
Yeah, his defense.
That's you, Russ.
Yeah.
The YouTube chat is saying we need to get Russ a UV lamp in there. I think we just need to white balance that thing.
Well, Pete seems to want to make fun of all of us for our appearance, so I'm sure he's an Adonis sitting there anonymously behind his keyboard. Sorry.
Damn.
I don't.
Why you take the shots on
why
me?
you got to take physical shots at people's physical appearance?
Well, he's just saying you need. We all need a little color.
Well,
I don't know if
taking one at Danny right above me there too. So I'm sorry. That's I don't dig on that stuff.
Oh, because Danny's not wearing a hat today.
Yeah,
which is funny because
Mom must have said something.
Which is funny because I haven't been wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Rust is on one today.
Sorry, that kind of crap pisses me off.
Well, it's February in the state of Oregon. I don't think any of us have a great tan except for Danny, who's been in the. You burnt your cheeks again.
I did
in the tanning booth.
I did.
The guy never learns his lesson.
I roasted him a little bit, and it's
Dan, you know what, Rust? You and I, we're gonna go tanning together. We're gonna get a joint package.
Look,
you and me together.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna join your packages?
I'm good.
No.
No.
All right. What we Russ needs a hug in the break, and we'll make sure he gets his hug.
Just that kind of crap grinds my gears.
I know. It's February in Portland. We're all pasty white, bud.
Well, we had an issue with my 7-year-old this morning too. She didn't want to go to school because she got some kid on the bus calling her ugly.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah, maybe it's just a tough day.
That's
for it to pop
right
up,
there.
So,
That's it right there.
I'm a little sensy on that today.
Mean kids suck.
Yes, they do.
Mean kids suck.
I'm telling you, you should be able to punch kids.
Okay, Danny, again. Golly.
Just saying. They learned.
Russ has got nothing on. He rendered Russ speechless. They learned. Yeah. All right. We have the Jordan rules. We all know the Jordan rules. It was the
living crap out of him.
The bad boy Pistons. It was foul him. He can't handle it. And then, I don't know, Jordan did all the drugs. And according to The Last Dance, locked himself into a weight room in the offseason. We know that.
Yeah.
Got jacked, played right through it.
He did put on a ton of muscle.
Cue the NFL stepping in 3, 2, 1. After they heard Antonio Pierce in a podcast that he did with Max Crosby, the Rush podcast with Max Crosby, because this one, there will be a close eye on the Las Vegas Raiders after this.
And then we got the Jordan rules, and I'm calling out from now on, as long as I'm here, the Patrick Mahomes rules. So you remember when Jordan was going through it with the Pistons, all those guys in the 80s before he came Michael Jordan, Air Jordan, the Pistons used to whoop his. Anytime he came to the home, elbows, feeling them, love taps. We touched them. We're in their head mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm touching you. So I show those guys Jordan getting his whooped.
Yeah. And he's saying that's what the Raiders did. They sacked him 4 times. They touched him up 10 times in that game on Christmas Day, where that was the most sacks that they'd allowed. They got a pick 6 in that game as well. And they beat the Kansas City Chiefs playing by the quote-unquote Mahomes rules. I absolutely love it.
Though this is part of Raiderdom. This is something that has been missing from that organization, which, you can talk about a lot of things missing in that organization, but that's the thing that they're trying to pull. That's the thread they're trying to pull again, is the nastiness.
But hold on. Isn't that the goal of every team against every quarterback, not just Patrick Mahomes?
Certainly.
Certainly. This is what that physicality, though, is what, for Tom Brady, we always used to hear, get him off his spot.
Yeah.
Right? Get him off his spot. If you collapse the pocket from the middle, you can. That is exactly what we said get him off his spot. It was hit Tom Brady.
Yes.
It is hit Joe Montana.
Touch him up.
Hit Peyton Manning. That is how you get to any quarterback in the NFL. What I think is going to be the sad part in all of this is that the NFL is going to step in, and the first time that they touch Patrick Mahomes next year, whoop, flag's coming out.
Gross.
It's going to happen, though. It's because the NFL has done this for decades now. Protect their moneymakers.
Gross.
But can you not see it coming?
Oh, I can 100% see it coming. I'm actually surprised we didn't see it in the Super Bowl. And I'm also surprised that Patrick Mahomes didn't whine and cry the entire game.
And this is why Mahomes did that late in the year. We saw it, and it became egregious at times. And he didn't do it in the Super Bowl. And I loved watching the Super Bowl because of it, because he knew his one game, I'm going to get hit. I know what they're going to try and do to me. And San Francisco did a decent enough job of getting to 19 points of regulation. Yeah. Pretty damn good day at the office. And the one touchdown they scored was on a short field. Mm-hmm. Like it was an effective day at the office for the 49ers. Antonio Pierce saying that out loud, saying that quiet part out loud, is what is going to scrutinize any touch on a guy like Mahomes or Burrow or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, even though Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen get absolutely punished week in and week out. I just can't wait for that point of emphasis to be shots on the quarterback after the ball's out.
The thing about
because
this is
we know how touchy they are about it.
Crosby has mentioned this before, and he's also mentioned the rivalry with the Chiefs and how there is extra juice there. And a couple of Chiefs players didn't like it when he was on his podcast. I want to say it was right at the end of the regular season. He said something about, I get up for this game. I get loose for this. Like, Max Crosby is that dude. He is. If you listen to any of the offensive linemen around the league talk about him on their podcast, like Jason Kelsey talking about him, and other guys, Taylor Lewan has talked about him. They're all like, he's a lunatic. Like, he's a guy you don't want to play against. And there's a little bit of a throwback to him in the sense of like, he's going to be nasty. He's if he gets to the quarterback, flag be damned, he's going to touch him up. He's let offensive linemen know, don't let me get back there. Remember, him and Mahomes had that back and forth.
Well, the show times. Quarterbacks, where they profiled Mahomes for the 2022 season, remember, he had a bit where he said he always talks nice and talks up to the defensive line because they hit him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of his game. You want the nastiness back in the NBA?
Yeah.
I think it needs to
come back to the
NFL
100%.
Because there's guys that are worried, and there's plenty of nastiness out there. But it is the protection of the quarterback has gotten to a point.
It's too far.
Where it is egregious. And it hit the apex when you had the landing on the quarterback 15-yarders that were, it's like,
go back and watch Joe Montana
I have
and
to
Steve Young.
hit a quarterback, and it's my job to, and I get paid millions of dollars to do it.
Obscene amounts of money to do it because it's so valuable, but I can't do it.
If I hit him and I land on him, then all of a sudden I get penalized for it. That's ridiculous.
Meanwhile, the running back can get shot blocked, or cut tackled from the side, have an ACL blown out. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Who was the tight end that got his knee blown out at the end of the year? Lions. Not
Laporta.
No,
Laporta, it was the hip drop tackle is one that you just need to that needs to get out.
No. There's somebody that he took a low shot at one of the tight ends for the Rams.
No idea.
Anyways, the Lions Rams game. The tight end got his knee blown out, and they're calling him dirty for the play. It's like, that's what he's got to do. No flag was thrown. No, nothing that came out of it. But but because he went low and tore a guy's ACL, it was like, there you go.
I'm here for the Mahomes rules, though. I think it's comical that we have a situation that it is now.
Oh, and Mahomes is treated differently, though. He is getting the Brady treatment.
The stars always do.
When you see him slide, he holds on. He holds on to the slide so he can so he can get the slide, get touched, not hit, touched, and then still pick up the flag.
It is comical, though, that it does come down to, no, this one quarterback we got the rules
extra
for.
Spicy, yeah.
It's not going to be anybody else. But he went on to say how much he hates the Kansas City Chiefs and how he hates the color red and how like they're going to be banning the color red from the Raiders facilities and all that stuff. I'm here for it because if that's all the Raiders are grasping at right now, go ahead.
Yeah,
be that team.
They're
again.
trying to be that team again, and I think they're trying to build an identity as that. that's what Antonio Pierce is rooted in, and I think that's what they're trying to bring back to the Raiders.
I think one of their biggest issues, though, is the fact that Antonio Pierce said, "We'll have Aiden O'Connell as a last resort."
Yeah. Hey, last resort, we still have Aiden O'Connell.
We love you played hard for us, but we're gonna definitely try to upgrade that position in this offseason. Well, Justin Fields, maybe that's your guy.
Don't do that to me.
Okay, fine. Desmond Ridder.
God, this summer's gonna be brutal.
Maybe you can get Derek Carr back. Don't try.
Between those two, Fields or Carr? Carr.
At $35.9 million.
What's Fields' number?
Not that. I think he's at like 19.
This
20.
Year, you're doing it to re-sign him.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay Justin Fields $40 million.
Well, if he wins, are you gonna pay him if he doesn't win? Hold on, stop. If
you're gonna trade him for, you're gonna give up draft capital for 1 year?
Oh, like the Raiders have drafted anybody good.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, just you're gonna waste that second round pick anyways.
That's true. The Raiders and the Patriots both shake hands on first round draft picks.
That's right. Well, no, just receivers for the Patriots. They'll get linemen that are there for 15 years.
That's fair. Brutal.
All right. Well, the Mahomes rules are alive and well, and I'm here for it. I just think that maybe they should have the Herbert rules as well, and any other quarterback that they have on their schedule. Maybe get to him, touch him up a little bit.
There you go. I like that.
That's my coaching point.
I like where you're going.
I have a team set for regression. You want to hear my team set for regression in the NFL next year? I'm calling this in February. Last year, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars for me. This year, I have a team of regression in the NFL next. Okay, I've got my team of regression for the 2024 NFL season. Mark it February 21st, 2024.
Go ahead.
The Houston Texans. They will be the team of regression in the NFL this year.
The sophomore slump?
It is still in the AFC South. And it will be, and people are going to label it the sophomore slump, but in all reality, their schedule is going to get exponentially tougher.
Yes.
Because they are a division champion, you will have a tougher schedule inherently. See what Jacksonville went through last year. But when you have your crossover divisions this year for them are the AFC East, they have the NFC North, so they're going to have the Lions, Vikings, and Packers on the schedule. And when you have the Jets, maybe with Aaron Rodgers, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will have on their schedule as well the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Dallas Cowboys. They have to go to Dallas, to Kansas City, and then obviously and then to Lambeau Field, all on their schedule. But then you have your home games against Buffalo, home game against Miami. It's going to be a tough schedule for the Houston Texans. And then you take on top of that, you have a year of getting a book on Bobby Slowick as the offensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans and what they're doing defensively. There will be, and then the tricks of the trade that go along with a pass rusher like Will Anderson and how offensive linemen adapt to him and his style. And then the book being out on C.J. Stroud as well and what they try to do.
What they try to take away
offensively.
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting.
Team of regression, Houston Texans.
I think you picked the Jags last year and you ended up being quasi right. I think they regressed, but I think that had more to do with injury than anything else. That team was beat up this year, particularly Lawrence.
He was not as great as he was the year before either.
No, but I believe that part of that, a strong part of that, was getting beat up. But it will be interesting because Stroud had not just a good year for a rookie; he had one of the best rookie years we've seen.
And I also believe that Jacksonville will be better this year.
Yeah,
I think that Indianapolis will be better this year.
Having Anthony Richardson out there is certainly going to be helpful in the limited games that he did play. What, 5?
They weren't terrible, and it was a cluster in the AFC South. One game separated those three teams.
None of those teams were bad.
And the Jags fell apart at the end of the year because Trevor Lawrence couldn't stay healthy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was banged up all year, and then at the end of the year, he just wasn't there. So that division is a sneaky division for.
It's getting a lot better.
The division of the future kind of a deal, because they all three have young quarterbacks.
We've gone through this before at the AFC South, though, and somebody ultimately craters in
Titans
to nowhere.
Titans.
Because, the Tennessee Titans were the 1 seed in the AFC, and then you were
the rest of the AFC was
but we always thought, hey, Indy's gonna turn it on. CJ Stroud, pre-CJ Stroud, Houston Texans, they were always solid, but they were never a get over the hump team. It's like, hey, and I'm talking like 8 years ago.
Okay,
where you were sitting there and you're going 4 or 5 years ago, hey, maybe they're onto something here. Nope, nothing ever came to fruition. And then it was like that with Andrew Luck. Like when Andrew Luck was a quarterback, the AFC South was like, hey, this could be the division of the future because Tennessee had defensive minded. They could be really good. You were hoping that that was when Houston had, Arian Foster as a running back. We thought the AFC South was the division of the future. And then
Arian Foster went crazy.
Really quickly, it goes into the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, Arian has always been crazy.
The understanding of just how crazy he is.
There we go.
The interesting thing is, this is, I think, the first time that division with these teams has 3 quarterbacks that all are around the same age, same experience. But if I asked you, does C.J. Stroud project as elite? Your answer would be
yes.
Does Trevor Lawrence project as elite?
Yes.
Does Anthony Richardson project as elite?
Not yet.
But if I told you he ended up being, would you be surprised?
Yes, a little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit. But I mean, we don't know.
But my point
we don't
being,
know. He had flashes of being really good, but we'll see.
But for the first time in maybe ever in that division with these teams, you have quarterbacks that you go, If I told you Trevor Lawrence won an MVP in his career, would you be shocked?
Not one
Same
bit.
with Stroud.
Not one bit.
Okay, you have two quarterbacks who you think in the next 10 years have the potential to win an MVP. How many divisions in the NFC have that? The answer is 0.
None.
So, like, even if there's been times in the past where, like, maybe, even if they do hit that regression, maybe it's a sophomore slump, maybe it's a schedule getting tougher, maybe it's adjusting to different things and different coverages, or how they treat Will Anderson, or whether or not they get another weapon for C.J. Stroud, because Nico is great, but, like, who else is on that team? When you look at their offensive, you look at their roster and their weapons, it's like they've got a couple of guys, but
they will be. I mean, Devin Singletary was really good for them.
Sure,
but a productive running back, you're going to need a workhorse. You have Tank Dell. When he got hurt, that was a death sentence for them. But you're right. They have Collins, Dell, Noah Brown, Robert Woods, John Michie. They do not have
it's
that.
not a murderer's row.
They need to, if they're going to avoid this slump, they need to upgrade their skills. And tight end, running back is probably where you start.
Yeah.
Because they had Dalton Schultz this year from Buffalo. But getting those dudes in a draft where you're going to have plenty of opportunities to get wide receivers. And after, Brock Bowers,
it falls
your
off.
Tight end group falls off dramatically.
Maybe prioritize that one next year.
And then you move forward and you see what's on the table. But my team of regression for 2024 already, Houston Texans. Schedule, the fact that your new coaching staff is not new anymore. We see this year in and year out. Teams figure out how to scheme and adjust to it. It's all primed for Houston taking a step back, which is not a disaster scenario, and it should not be an indictment on DeMeco Ryans, Will Anderson, or CJ Stroud. Ultimately, people will do what's wrong with them? Well, it's because you have coaches that get paid millions of dollars as well to make sure they slow guys down like that.
And the thing is,
when you get good, your schedule gets tougher.
And being able to beat the tape, that's how you go from good to great.
Yep, it truly is. Sit right there.
Coming up next, we had this last week where I gave you a preemptive warning. If you're eating your lunch, put it down. Just chill for a sec, because the worst day on the web is going to be awful. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with Sports Center Update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan. Still a dead night in the NBA as players regroup from All-Star Weekend. A 12-game slate tomorrow night in the association. TNT doubleheader with the Suns at the Mavericks in the early game. That's followed by the Lakers at the Warriors. Oregon men's basketball, they're looking to gain some momentum to close out their regular season. They sit at third in the Pac-12 currently. The Ducks visit the Stanford Cardinal tomorrow night. We'll have coverage right here on The Fan starting at 7:30, tip at 8, and can also be seen on ESPN2. The Oregon State men looking to snap a 6-game skid tomorrow night at Cal. That's a 7 o'clock tip on Pac-12 Network. Number 9, Oregon State women's coach Scott Rueck has been named to the Naismith College Coach of the Year watch list. The Beavers were picked in preseason to finish 10th in the Pac-12. The Pilots on a 4-game losing streak. Stopping that skid tomorrow night will be a tall task, with Gonzaga hitting the Child Center. Tip at 6 o'clock. Coverage over on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 5:30. And first baseman Eric Hosmer has announced his retirement after 14 years. The 4-time Gold Glover helped lead the Royals to the 2015 World Series title. Hosmer played for Kansas City, San Diego, Boston, and the Chicago Cubs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The original home of the Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 9 to noon, 1080 The Fan.
Winter
It sucks.
All right, you've been warned. This worst day on the web is going to make you squirm. Like, in a way that you won't believe.
Oh, great. What do we got?
The headline to this one, 150 live bugs removed from inside of a man's face at a Florida hospital.
Oh, God. You told me not to look at this story, and
I told you yesterday, do not look at this. The video for this is insane.
oh, no.
Absolutely insane.
Oh, no.
They put a warning, content may be disturbing, as doctors in Jacksonville, Florida are baffled after finding and removing more than 100 larvae from inside a man's nose and sinuses.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's as squeezy as you think it is. Like, they show the camera up his nose and in his sinuses, and it's larva, like, attached to, like, the base of his skull.
But what? Okay, how does this happen? Like, what level of poor health do you have to be in to where it escalates to this point and you have no earthly idea?
So he had a neuroblastoma, which is a cancerous tumor that was behind his nose and in his nose that was removed 30 years ago. So he has kind of like a hollow space and a compromised immune system because of this. This is what made him susceptible. Is that, not to gross you out, folks, but this can happen to anyone, but doesn't because your immune system kills this stuff. So, like, the whole, like, you eat 8 spiders while you're alive, blah, 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 in your
Okay, so
sleep.
this
Like,
wasn't just somebody being disgusting or
No.
Oh, gross.
So his body couldn't fight this off, and he said one night he said it just began feeling off, and then he had these symptoms that have been persisting for like since the late fall, since like November, and it was so deep that you can't like look in the mirror and be like, oh, there's something up there. But he also had these like they had burrowed and buried.
Oh my goodness.
Onto the base of his skull.
So what caused all of this to happen? Like how did
bug got in there, laid eggs?
Oh my God, that's nightmare fuel. That is like one of my worst fears. Like if you know when you get the bug that like buzzes your ear and like it gets like hits your ear and you're like, is it in there?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot.
Oh yeah,
like that's nightmare fuel.
No, that's just.
When I see the videos of people like they have the videos where they pull out the bug from like somebody's ear or somebody's nose, it is top 5 fear. Maybe number 1. Maybe number 1 fear. Oh my gosh,
I'm showing Dusty the inside of his nose right now, and it think of like what larvae look like hatching, maggots look like hatching.
That is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen.
It makes the shoulders lock up. It's terrible. So basically, dude went into like the ER and they had an ENT and they took a look.
What do you do?
He had a nosebleed. It was like, oh my God. And said the doctor saw dozens and dozens of bugs alive and feeding on the inside of the patient's nose and sinus cavity.
Now, I've been to Florida once. I never want to go back. Like all of this stuff happens in Florida. Would this happen anywhere else?
No.
Question.
The insane thing is they tried to remove them with suction. They were too big.
Gross.
So they had to go in and remove them with instruments one at a time. But there was so much space in his nasal cavity, and because of the cancerous tumor that they took out, that it allowed for this to happen.
Oh, that is so disgusting.
See, you know why all the weird stuff happens in Florida? They're like you know how the human body used to have a tail? Florida is the appendage that's just evolution is waiting to lop that tail right off the human body.
Just waiting for it, waiting for the oceans to rise and put it all underwater. Is that what you're saying?
We don't need this tail anymore.
But long story short, the doctor said it's called nasal myiasis, in that in nearly 20 years as an ENT, he's never seen anything like this documented in the United States. Doesn't want to cause a panic because vast majority of humans have an immune system that's strong enough to kill off most parasites when they try to enter the body. But he does caution people with compromised immune systems.
You know what this is going to do? The next time that I have like a nose hair tickle my nose, I'm going to be like, got the bugs up there. That is, so gross. So gross. One of the bright spots, though, is that urban legend urban myth that you swallow like 12 bugs a year in your sleep.
Mhm.
They've debunked that.
It's
We're a
something
lot
that's like
safer.
5 spiders or 8 spiders in your lifetime.
See, yeah, in your lifetime,
can believe
that's
that.
still 5 too many for me.
Oh, for sure.
But it makes me feel better
I'm also
because there was that urban legend that hey, 8 spiders a year. No,
that's a lot, man.
Mm-mm.
Look, I will fully admit this. When I'm conked out, I'm a mouth breather.
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
not. I got a little tiny nasal cavity. Don't have to worry about the bugs in there.
Nope.
Like when I was running,
Nope.
When I was in the military, I was always a mouth breather on long distances, and it's not good for you to do that.
No, it's horrible.
Yeah, I can't do it through my nose.
And not efficient either.
No, I'm not able to like through the nose very well. It's very tiny.
Gosh.
But with that said, mouth open Venus flytrap. I could imagine at least 8 spiders getting in there in my lifetime.
Okay, the Vancouver Ford text line. Danny's finding new torture devices. This may be it.
Larva up your nose.
This is how Pinhead from Hellraiser happened. Stuck a bunch of pins in his head to kill the bugs. And kept him there. Ooh, maybe this is... If there's a real life Pinhead, he'd be in Florida.
Yeah. So speaking of, quick squirrel moment. The guy with the Joker face that popped up in the GTA 6, the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer.
Yep.
That's based on the real guy. He says he wants to voice the character in the game now.
Of course he does.
And I'm like, do you want to let that guy in the building?
No.
Because he's going to burn it down.
He's going to 100% burn it all down.
Mm-hmm.
Because where's he from?
Florida. And what does he want to be? The real life Joker. The guy from the movies who said, some people just want to watch the world burn.
So bad. So bad.
So,
well, thanks for
Florida
nightmare fuel.
Yeah, larva in your nose.
I don't like, and I have that fear.
Brings
like
a whole
when
new definition to human centipede.
When oh, come on, that movie's disgusting.
Oh boy!
But when you have that bug flying, I've never had that happen. I've had a bug fly into my mouth when I'm like running.
Oh yeah,
but that's as close I got that bad boy out.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that actual, like I'm always paranoid about it.
I've had them like land in the canal, but then like a quick smack in the back of the ear knocks them out, kind of a deal. But yeah, that's a go.
We don't have bad bugs here either.
No, that's
our bugs. Our bugs
Florida
here.
Bugs, an obscene amount and not great.
You go down to the south, they got those big old bugs like
cicadas
going around. Like you've got to like
tennis racket,
with a racket, and just like whack, get them all out.
Yeah, when you get a solid thud when you hit them with something, like they shouldn't make a sound when they hit the wall.
Yeah,
they shouldn't have that kind of weight.
See, this is now I feel like I've got something stuck up my nose. This might be the grossest conversation you guys ever had. Yeah, that's that. Did Daniel do that to you? This is why he said, "Don't read this story. Don't look at this story."
I'm sure we've had worse.
Not much.
At some point.
Not much.
Maybe.
What's funny is
we'll press on.
Rufio sent this to me. I had already seen it in the morning, and I was downplaying it. I was like, I'm not going to put that in there.
See, Rufio knew better than to send it to me because I'd have been like, no.
And then I was going to not talk about it. And then, Jeff, you yesterday were like, you want to hear something messed up during the break? And I was like, the bugs? He goes, yeah, you already knew it? Yeah, it's there. Just didn't want to do it then. Still, like look, if you want to see if I can be bothered by things, look, I am bothered. I am wholly bothered.
One thing that I feel like even more so than ever I want done is I've seen like the professional ear cleaning videos, you know, those pop out.
So good.
I want to get that done now just to make sure nothing's in there.
Oh yeah.
You know, maybe there is something. I don't know.
No, I've done that one before. It's good.
I've heard.
It's good.
What's that one for the nose, like the Navage thing? It looks like you're holding up a washing machine to your nose.
It is. I've tried it once and I don't like it. I don't like it. It feels very weird.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a torture device. Like they're like, hey, let us shoot this water up your nose.
Yeah, and guess what? It goes down the back of your throat. Not
neti pots do work though when you're sick.
True.
Neti pots are okay.
But yeah, it's the whole ENT thing is it's a weird thing.
YouTube chat,
weird place.
Says another reason why Oregon and Washington are awesome. Not many bugs or animals that could kill you in your sleep. Damn straight.
No, the only thing that we really have up there is the rattlesnake. That's it. And that's in Eastern Oregon.
Yeah, Central, Eastern, Southern Oregon, you get rattlesnakes.
But other than that, like that's well, I guess we have the recluse too.
But we don't have you don't hear very many brown recluse bites affecting people.
They don't like people. that's the whole point. Is they're away. I had a bunch in the studio before I gutted it.
Oh, at your house?
Yeah, my
I was
house.
like,
no,
what?
not here.
We
No,
had garter snakes at the
no,
old building, but
no.
never brown recluses.
No, I probably had like 6 or 7 of them in there, and I was like, those look like brown recluses. I took pictures of them and then was kind of side by side it online, and I went, yep, gonna go ahead and put the gloves on just in case.
But we are lucky.
Yeah,
like
no.
we got the mountain lions. We got some bears that mostly bears don't want to be near you.
But
Mountain
all of
lions
these things
terrify me though.
All of these things want to be away, except with the exception of the mountain lion, who friend of the show texted me when he was in Canada. The same mountain lions up there they have down here. He was filming him and his girlfriend on a hike, and realized in the background, like 50 yards back, was a mountain lion
Just stalking him.
And they're like, "We need to go."
Yeah.
So because just because it looks friend shaped, do not boop snoot of mountain lion.
No, they don't get as bad of a rap as they should.
No,
like we're way
they're
worried.
murder machines.
We're more worried about like sharks. We should be worried about
mountain lions.
Mountain lions.
Mountain lions are murder machines.
Cougars, same thing.
Yeah. Just murder kitty, do not want any part of. All right, coming up next, it's a true riches to riches story. Danny and Dusty, Timmy the Fan.
What's your opinion?
It's thick.
On Twitter, a Matt saying I shouldn't be on the radio during lunch.
Dude,
I warned everybody.
The nightmare fuel of Bugs Up Nose, that did it, man.
I gave you a warning before we went to the first break, and then a warning again before I went into the store.
Well,
what more do you want?
And when you were hired.
I did. I did. I did say I would cross lines.
Yeah, and that's okay. Damn it.
It is what it is.
I'm just saying, I'd had a nose hair tickle, and I was like, nope. Now I'm just worried.
Oh, you're like,
I'm just worried now.
There's a bug up there.
Hot damn.
Who doesn't love a good rags to riches story? Or in this case, a riches to riches story. Don't ever give up on your parlay dreams, folks.
I don't.
13. You know what? What's the most legs you've hit on a
parlay? 8.
Mine's 6.
8 this football
I don't really
season.
Go beyond that.
And they were, well, I get a lot of the alternate lines that are pretty easy, and then you
stack one or two
sprinkle in like 2 that are difficult. But it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. I think it was the Patriots. It was the Patriots Bills, and it was like, oh, I know what's coming.
We'll go ahead and take this one.
Sports gambling does really help when your team is bad, being able to cope with the losses because you know that team and you know what's coming.
Watching Sprague battle through the Blazers last year,
it's
some
what
lines
you
that
do.
He took when we were doing the watch parties. That was what saved the watch parties.
Because
there's a couple times it came down to one thing or another. The line on the Timberwolves game the other night, Jeremy Grant hits that last 3. And it was like, oh my God, that 3 was meaningless, but it covered. I was like,
that's all you need.
I remember Casey Holwell and I tracked
unless
lines,
you're fade the Blazers,
and just to kind of see how close they get with things, particularly with the teams that are at the bottom of the standings. It's hard to track them. It's hard to know how sideways things are going to go. And I remember that 3 hit. And I looked down the aisle at Casey. Like we both kind of like, ooh, that 3 had some interest to it for sure. But I say all of this because Dez Bryant, it was a catch Bryant, laid $767 on a 13-leg college basketball parlay.
Wait, say that again?
13-leg.
Okay.
College basketball parlay.
How much money did he put on this?
$767.
That is woefully irresponsible betting right there.
Yeah, he screenshot.
Obviously, he was confident in his picks, though.
And there's a local tie to it. This is on the 17th. He picked Pepperdine.
Okay.
To beat the Portland Pilots.
All right.
It also
he just
included
took money line on that one.
Yeah, everyone that I can see in here is money line. He took Colorado at USC, Santa Clara at San Diego, Wyoming at San Jose State, Pepperdine at Portland, or it should be Portland at Pepperdine, and Nevada at UNLV.
Now, this is just betting blindly because Dez Bryant can tell me all he wants. He does not know a thing about the University of Portland basketball.
He's not calling Coach Leggins?
No, he doesn't. He has no idea who Shante Leggins is. This is him just looking at records going, yeah, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win. And, I mean, looking at it, he had the smart play, though. He had 2 upsets in there. In the rest of them, it was basically he was taking
negative money
and like minus 200, right? Where
safe plays.
It's not too aggressive, but Vegas is confident one way or the
But
other.
when you're stacking up 13 of them, it adds up real quick.
Hot damn! But $700 on that.
Also, if Dez Bryant is doing this now, do you think he just started?
Well, seeing that, why bet $767.68? Did he let everything just ride on this? That is a very.
That's how much he had left in that account.
He emptied the account on that one. That's 100. Nobody bets that. That's the weirdest number to bet of all time. So this is telling me that Dez Bryant has not won a lot of bets to where that was his point where he's like, you know what? Let it all ride.
Bullshit. Also, I'd imagine
on a 13-leg parlay.
That level of degeneracy leads me to go, he was gambling while he was a player.
No, it wasn't legal then.
No, definitely not.
I really do think, though, that a lot of these it is guys who are just now getting into it's become available to them, and they didn't know much about it. So that's why they they went down the road of, oh yeah, well, now it's on my device. I got it on my handheld app. I wonder how many of those guys were betting before though. Like in all honesty, how many guys had offshore accounts right there, and that's how they operate.
Offshore accounts?
Yeah,
buddy, these
or
guys.
bookies.
There you go. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, it's a lot easier though on the offshore accounts than your bookie who's got maybe some different lines.
I think you probably had some guys that were around the team. A guy knew a guy.
I got
There was, I feel like there was a collection plate being passed around. It wasn't for Chapel.
Big Dom in the Eagles.
For the Eagles, that's actually what Big Dom was doing
The
there.
head of security, huh?
Yeah. Head of security.
I got a guy
with the Italian flag stitched into his Eagles jersey.
I got a guy.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What are we doing here? The other side of this is when you talk about athletes and just throwing money away on crazy things. I will never forget this. Dwayne Wade said that he spent over $25,000. This is like 5 or 6 years ago on Madden Ultimate Team.
What?
Yeah, the video game, Madden, and an Ultimate Team, which is like a card draw, so
Yeah.
you can build your team. Like he spent $25,000
Why would he do that?
to get the best team possible
But for why?
to play online.
Okay.
And there's stories of athletes and then the kids stealing their parents' credit cards and doing this too.
Well, the Kendrick Perkins ones was hilarious when Kendrick Perkins' kid for Pokemon Pokemon
yeah,
Go
Pokemon Go, yeah.
spent like a couple $100. That would be a terrifying father to have that come home to that one.
There's a TikTok
You
out
spent
there
how much?
of a mom making her kid do Fortnite dances because he stole the credit card and spent $300 on Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you like Fortnite so much, do those Fortnite dances. And the kid is sitting there doing like flossing and God, what are the other ones? Gritty, like crying, sobbing. He's like sobbing doing the gritty. And she's like, no, don't stop. Keep going. You love Fortnite so much. I was like, ooh, that's a unique and interesting punishment. I like this.
Yeah, you're not going to get like child abuse for that one. You're probably going to get shamed publicly for putting it on the internet, but that's part of the gig. This is why but my kids don't, they would be worried about me. But my wife is the one that they would be terrified of.
Mom was coming?
The angry Russian would come out.
Did she speak Russian?
God, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because I was wondering, does she get so angry that the native language comes out?
She's not that Russian.
Angry Russian, there's German's maybe the only other language that I've heard that when someone is genuinely angry, that starts off even when they're sounding happy as angry. And then it goes to another level of
even just counting to 10 in German sounds pissed off.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like
Eins, zwei, drei.
Yeah, German and Russian both have that same kind of connotation.
That's only 3.
And when it gets angry, it's like, oh no.
Yeah. But she's also like that would get the blood boiling because the wasteful spending is probably pet peeve number 1 for her. And
gotcha.
so this would be
Maybe
where
this unlocks the callback.
Oh,
she just
boy.
starts speaking it out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know. Like I watched the show The Americans and I was like, did I step into it?
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna be the guy who's like, I didn't
She's
know.
a sleeper cell.
They're like, how did you not know? I'm like, I don't know.
What's the activation code?
I don't know. I had no idea.
Go watch The Winter Soldier with her and see what happens.
Like, how could you not know? I don't know. Just, she's so nice. She's a teacher. You know? Like,
They always are. What are they teaching?
she wasn't in, what was it? The travel agent. She's not a travel agent. It's my only point of reference
Also,
here.
that is a job that somehow still exists when it doesn't need to anymore.
No, it should exist because they'll get you
Go on.
deals that like Orbitz or
Kayak,
Travelocity
whatever,
or whatever. They'll manipulate it even more because all of these sites are getting their cuts.
Yeah.
Right. And so the travel agent gets your cuts, but it's an actual person, so you can communicate and be like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, how can I match the hotel and the flight where I don't have to go to Denver and then Atlanta to get to Cabo San Lucas, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a it's not a big market for it, But I think we should bring back the travel agent. Have a little personal touch to things.
Look, I'd be all for it if we can.
It takes a special person. I remember travel agents were big back in the day.
I had a friend,
which is why we never went on vacation.
Yeah, that was the thing. I had a friend who both his parents were travel agents. They had their own travel agency together, and like
they were Russian spies. I've seen the Americans.
They were Indian.
Okay,
but which means they probably didn't like the Russians. But
no, not at all.
But they traveled all over the world, man. They had a living room just littered with artifacts from all over the world. It was always cool. It was always super cool to go over there because they cook food from all over the world, and you did not know what smell to expect when you walked in the house.
You know what is good for travel? Costco.
You're not wrong. My parents bought a trip to freaking Mexico.
Yeah,
at Costco, and it was great.
Great deals.
Yeah,
you can get smoking hot deals there.
I need to. Think Costco does Italy yet?
Maybe. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I'm not a travel agent.
Yeah, it's just under a different label.
It's a Kirkland signature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Signature. You're going to Signature.
You get to the airport. Like, I thought we were flying United. No, we're flying Kirkland signature.
Yeah, you can go there.
All right.
Yeah, they have them right here. Dude, they got them.
I know what I'm doing.
At least you can probably get the cheap hot dog combo on that flight.
There you go, and the pizza probably.
$1.50. That price ain't changing.
All right, coming up next, we will play the audio from Anthony Simons hopping on the podcast with me last night, talking about where he, not only him, but the Trailblazers, the players stand with Chauncey Billups. And we'll talk a little bit about Anthony Simons' interview last night. Coming up here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on check my watch, Wednesday afternoon, because I don't know what day it is. Throw a day off for vacation. I'm already lost on most days. So we drop a day and I'm definitely cooked.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, which means we are less than a week away. It's almost here. 1080 The Fan invites you to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin, X Golf Vancouver. That is, again, this coming Tuesday. We have past the Tuesdays.
You know how I told you I was going to not pick up a golf club? I did.
You did?
I did.
Did you swing him in the house last night?
No. I went to the range this morning.
Oh.
No, I went this morning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Getting loosened up?
I think that's what we'll call it. Actually went okay.
Didn't go as bad as you thought?
No. No. It's we are still in the process of the draw and controlling the draw. Because I used to have a slice.
Gotcha. Now it's over the other side.
No, it's not over the other side. It's
control draw.
Controlling the draw.
Okay.
And I thought I would just completely disappear. It hasn't disappeared. I'm just working on getting it back in. It was the first time back in a while. I think that's the first time I picked up a golf club since August. That's a long run.
Mine was late November because I did the X Golf League with the team. Here.
Long run, but it felt good, and I'm excited for Tuesday now, which means it'll totally fall apart.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me? I'm gonna bring my clubs in there, and it's gonna go sideways.
Let's go.
That's how we're gonna do it. They've just opened up a 2 threesomes for the 4 p.m. round at X Golf Tualatin.
Let's go.
The new round is filling up fast. You can also choose from either the noon or 4 p.m. round at X Golf Vancouver. Dusty and I will be in Vancouver. Isaac and Suk in Tualatin. The winning threesomes will win a free foursome at this summer's 10th annual Fan Golf Classic. That's the summer golf. So if you win now, you win a foursome, which means you can invite one more stick for your fourth to make your scores better.
There we go.
See, you picking up what we're putting down for the tournament this summer. There will be food for all golfers from Victor Rico's.
That's what I'm talking about.
And Pro Catering in their own restaurant group. All golfers will play the historic Pebble Beach Golf Course on The Sims. I've played it before. It's fun.
Good.
It's a fun little course.
Hole in one.
So go to 1080thefan.com to sign up and get more information. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate you. We love you. 1080thefan.com. Excuse me, youtube.com/1080thefan.com. Twitch.com/1080amthefan.com. Or your terrestrial radio here on 1080 AM.
We got a YouTube comment from Pete. He said, "Are we going to cover any of the baseball? We're going to get. There's actual baseball news to be had today, so we will get to that in hour number 3.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this too.
We will get to that here coming up. One of the things that came out of my conversation with Anthony Simons last night is everybody thinks that when I have these conversations, because Ant and I have a relationship for 6 years, that it's going to be, simple, easy, nothing really going to it. And I always try to challenge Ant a little bit. I'm not there to pull the screws to him. That's not what that's for. But I do like to get things out there that, are pressing questions. I asked him about his defense and where he thinks that stands right now and the challenges this season has presented. But the one thing that seems to be on a lot of Blazers fans' mind, good, bad, or otherwise, is the position of head coach Chauncey Billups. And I asked Anthony Simons what he thought about what he thought about Chauncey Billups, good, bad, or otherwise, through this last year.
I don't think he's a bad coach at all. Like, everybody loves him. You know what I mean? So I don't know if Blazers fans been saying stuff like, you know what I mean, like he's losing a locker room or something like that. But like, that's not true at all. Everybody's willing to run through a wall for Chauncey every single time. You know what I mean? So it's not. I want to shut that down immediately because, you know what I mean. You gotta take account what Chauncey has to deal with his whole tenure here. He's had a different team every year, totally different roster, even at the trade deadline. So you might as well count 2 times every year. You know what I mean? So not counting this one, we didn't really change players, but every year we've had a new roster.
I think that's a great point by Ant, because that's what we kind of get lost with. We were talking about this with the Milwaukee Bucks in hour number 1, there is an acclimation period when you have any new pieces coming in, whether it is stars joining up or it's even more exacerbated when you are lacking a true star in the NBA, like what we've seen for a year and a half now with the Portland Trailblazers. because they have been void of a true star once Damian Lillard was shut down last year. And when you add all of those pieces at the trade deadline and everybody's trying to work together, we talked about the gravity and how it's hard for the Bucks to, play differently and Dame play differently aside Giannis, where those two guys have so much gravity to them. Well, the Portland Trailblazers are in the complete opposite end of that spectrum, where
Ant is the only one who has
it. But even that is like, when you don't, how hard is it for him to play right now with Scoot on the floor? And we've seen those struggles where it is insanely hard for him to get loose.
He's playing 4-on-5 because right now Scoot's defender does not recognize him at the 3-point line, and his defender is standing at the nail.
And so what you have with Ant's defender is he can be more aggressive further away from the basket
and they're
take
sending
away
two
his
at him
ability to shoot
more often than not. So they're sending two at him, and another help defender is standing in the middle of the lane. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh boy, this is going to be tough.
And so what you have with this Blazers team is we all want the answers really quickly.
Yes.
And I think what you're hearing from Anthony Simons is when you're in this portion of a rebuild, what you want from a coach. All right. Are young guys improving? Yes.
Yes.
And this just comes with, some of it may just be because they're playing more minutes and they're getting in the NBA and they're getting accustomed to the NBA.
But also
there's an acclimation.
But this is the thing that matters to me. He is putting guys out on the floor when they are ready and not before that, but he is giving them opportunities to show if they are ready or not. And if they're not, they get yanked.
And they got the hook.
Period, point blank. The way he handled Shaedon Sharpe in his rookie year, he showed out in camp, went out on the floor, proved it. The whole keep what you kill line. You play well, you get more minutes. Toumani Camara started for this team. And everyone's like, what? The guy you just traded for like 3 weeks ago is starting now? That's a rookie. It's a 52nd overall pick he's starting because he showed he was ready. And when it became a little too much for him, when the scouting report got out, what happened? Beep, back to the bench.
Back to the bench. And so you are the young guys improving?
Mm-hmm.
They are, whether it is by acclimation or it is also development, because we've seen guys take strides. And I think the biggest one is Scoot Henderson. Like, we've seen Scoot Henderson, what he has been doing, especially the last month.
Last 15 games is averaging 14-4, shooting 44-35.
And that is more than just him playing and getting used to life in the NBA.
It's a point guard head coach developing him.
And they are accentuating what he does well. And at the beginning, criticism, very fair. Because
Scoot was terrible to start season.
Because they were trying to play a game that did not suit him, and then they have adapted and they have adjusted. I go back to this. Chauncey Billups is doing the things right now. And then here's the third thing: when you have in a rebuild in a coach who's a young coach. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not young in age, but he's a young coach.
Yeah, this is his third year as head coach.
In his fourth year coaching. Yeah. Like, I think.
And look, again, I'm not saying Chauncey's perfect, but I'm saying for what the Blazers need right now, I believe he's doing a good job.
And I think the big one, and this is a huge one, when you're going through a rebuild, are the veterans getting antsy. Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, they had the chance. They could have gone to Joe Cronin and said, "Hey,
I'm not playing
get
this
my
guy.
ass out
I'm not
of here.
dealing with this.
I don't want to go through this." Yeah. For Jeremy, I've been through this before. Mm-hmm. And we have not. In fact, the players have said quite the opposite.
Yes.
Especially Jeremy Grant.
They want to play for Chauncey.
Now, is Chauncey going to be the guy once they start turning the corner out of this rebuild?
Different question.
I don't know. But right now,
will he have evolved to that point?
I think what we're seeing is this team plays hard.
Mm-hmm.
They are not very good, but that is because the roster isn't complete. Mm-hmm. It's got a bunch of holes in it. And Joe Cronin knows that. Chauncey Billups knows. Hell, the players know that.
And I asked Ant about that and about what it's like to lose and how to avoid that. And I was like, players don't like losing, right? Like, you're not this. He goes, no, God, no. Like, we have to know that this isn't the norm, but that we have to be working towards something and getting better and finding things. Hell, Ant credits Chauncey with saving his career.
Really?
Full stop. He goes, I didn't know what I was going to be. Ant is a guy, and I think he's comfortable with me to saying this. Ant was a guy who questioned whether or not he could be in the NBA just a couple years ago. Like, he just didn't know. Like, am I going to make it? Am I going to stick? Am I going to have opportunities? Like, am I good enough? Hell, last night on the show, he said he didn't trust his ability to hit NBA threes until after year 3. He's one of the best shooters in the league. He goes, some nights it felt like I was shooting from 2 feet away. Other nights it felt like it was 30. And he credits Chauncey with coaching him hard and bringing it all to the center for him and saving his career.
And this is going to be the big test is, all right, can they continue to make those strides, take the steps forward? But right now they are. And is it as fast as people would like? No, but this is what rebuild is.
This is what I said from the beginning. It was going to be a minimum of 3 years.
And I do believe that we will see a coaching change happen.
It probably will
in a couple of years.
In these rebuilds, that's typically what happens is you do see a change.
The vitriol against Chauncey Billups is, what are you going to bring in that's better? And like you can question the way that he built his staff. Sure, go ahead, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we may see adjustments to that coming this offseason when you need to take another massive step forward next year. And I think next year is the one where you're going to find out if he's going to be the guy to lead this team out of the rebuild.
And that's what's going to be interesting is to see how this team looks this summer.
Ain't going to happen right now.
They're going to make more changes, and he's going to go into another season with a very different team again. So we'll see what comes out of that and how things shake out. But it's been very interesting just kind of see just how the difference between how a section of the fan base talks about Chauncey Billups versus what the players. And this is not Ant saying nice things because he's in front of a camera.
That wasn't like a vote of confidence, a hollow vote of confidence. No.
That's only a snippet from that segment. That he gave about a 3-minute answer that was unabashed endorsement wholeheartedly of Chauncey Billups.
Go check it out. If you haven't, go look at Jack Ramsey's. You have it on YouTube, and it's up right now. So go watch the full thing.
You can either watch it on YouTube or you can get it wherever you get podcasts.
There you go.
All right, coming up next, baseball, relocation, stadiums, Portland, more of it. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Wrestling Wednesday, when you don't expect it, it can hit hard. This is epic theme music. This is the lead into every 80s montage.
Little Mr. Perfect for you.
Oh God, this is great. You know, we were talking a couple weeks ago. Was it last week or the week before about how the jingles are dead? You need a good jingle.
Mm-hmm.
You also need some good montage music. We haven't had good montage music in a while.
Well, the 80s were just primed for that.
Is it the synthesizer?
That was the peak.
Yeah.
Is it the synthesizer that brings it all together?
Yeah. Mr. Perfect also did not like him. Very punchable face.
Yes.
Very.
I feel like
which just means that he played his character well.
Oh, he was a heel through and through, and I loved every minute.
I feel like that era was basically defined by punchable faces.
Yeah,
and greasy hair.
It was heels and heroes, and that's what you wanted.
And so many steroids.
Yeah, and then there was the Ultimate Warrior.
Looking at him, he is on so many steroids.
Yeah, all the steroids. There's a reason why he was only 44 when he died.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his face; he is full on Barry Bonds head.
Sure is.
It's quite incredible. Speaking of baseball, like that transition.
Oh, Barry Bonds head.
Barry Bonds head transition.
Got you there.
Hey, professional radio transition. Dun 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 dun. Another team is talking about relocation because their stadium is old. Have you heard this one before?
Yeah, we knew that this was going to be the big hurdle for Portland, and the Portland Diamond Project had always talked about this. Like, look, expansion was the key. They didn't want to rip a team out of another city, but also knowing that you are a pawn,
your leverage,
for another city to build a stadium there.
Always.
And what we heard over the weekend, Ken Kendrick, who is the managing partner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Chase Field, which doesn't seem like it would be that old,
27 years old,
and like the roof doesn't open.
Because a cable doesn't work.
They have leaks all over. Yeah. It's a mess in there.
Which is
turns out buildings in the desert, high maintenance.
Yeah, well, yes and no. You would think maybe they would kind of weatherproof them for that.
Yeah, turns out stadium's hard to do that with.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like they're getting like hit with like Shamal sandstorms. They're just getting baked in the sun.
Well, haboobs come rolling through.
Do they get haboobs running through that part of Phoenix?
Like, not all the time, but yeah. You can get them every now and then.
Did I say? I didn't think they got him through Phoenix.
But Kendrick is the Arizona Coyotes are too.
Well, that's a show of epic proportions.
And their ownership is a complete disaster. Yeah. But they're trying to
the NHL
get
is
a new
trying
stadium.
to keep them there, and I don't know why. Just move them
because they need teams out west desperately.
Move them to literally anywhere in the West.
Anywhere.
Like you could put that team in. Like honestly, yes, put them in Memorial. That is no joke, that is a better proposition.
Well, they play in I think it's a 4,000 seat stadium.
Yes, I was saying playing Memorial, as old as it is a better proposition than what they have right
now. Yeah, but here we are, another Arizona team wanting a stadium, and Ken Kendrick kind of put everybody's attention up when he said this at spring training.
Well, we aren't having those conversations. There are opportunities available. There are other cities that would covet having Major League Baseball. I mean, like I'm, speaking out of school to say that, and those names they're prominent cities that would love to have a Major League team. We're not in dialogue with those communities, but we are aware of what is going on. There is likely to be in time an expansion of our sport to a couple of additional cities. Cities are letting MLB know their interest. Their interest in getting a team is specific. They would be happy with a brand new franchise, but they would certainly be very happy, with, frankly, a successful existing franchise. It's not where we are spending time or energy. We may run out of time in Phoenix. We hope that won't happen. We're hard at it. We're continuing to have meetings. We've ramped up the dialogue in every way that we know how, and we'll continue to do that.
We do still have conversations with local interested parties. It's just it's a math problem with anything, right? But we still do take the phone calls and take the meetings, but we have been focused on Chase.
The business partner.
Well, let me go ahead
step in here.
Put the pin back in that grenade real quick.
Yikes! They've got stadium issues in Arizona. They are going to use Portland, Salt Lake City, Montreal, Nashville, Charlotte,
and you could hear
as a pawn.
The exasperation of the controlling partner of saying, "Yeah, no, we're still working towards this," but that didn't. I don't think that was just a ploy. This is a building that's 27 years old. They've already told them flat out they are not building a new building because it is an ungodly fortune to build a fully enclosed, air-conditioned building that can house enough people for baseball and to keep it cool.
Yeah.
It's 120 bleeping degrees.
And this is going to be the big issue for Arizona. They're up now that it appears, the A's and the Rays, their stadiums are starting to come to fruition.
Well,
maybe with the A's, but there's always going to be another team that pops up. And that's why relocation is always been put on the back burner. But as spring training gets going and you start hearing all of this, we had 5 years ago, expansion was a real thing. And Major League Baseball was considering jumping to 32 teams.
COVID.
And then COVID happened. And then it was like, hey, maybe this accelerates the process because they want that influx of money for expansion fees and just a new TV deal and getting more money. Maybe expansion does make sense. It is slowed down. But 2029 still seems like a year where Rob Manfred wants to hang his hat on expanding Major League Baseball to 32 teams.
Teams being ready to go, not awarding the teams, but by 2029, teams are in play.
That's 5 years away. That's 5 years away. 3
years, which is the amount of time the lease expires in Arizona, sounds like a long time. When you're talking about this kind of stuff, that is no time. That is no time at all.
He wants to have, if you don't have teams ready to go, he wants to have an announcement where he can, because he said, I'm out after this 5-year run. If now it's, all right, expansion is a real possibility. And if Major League Baseball expands, they are going to do one in the East and one in the West. That is what makes the most sense. Hell, they could do 2 in the West and they still make sense. But if you look at the players, and ESPN just actually put out their annual, hey, teams looking for expansion. If you look at the West, Portland makes sense. There is a big player in Austin, San Antonio, which that area is growing.
How Austin does not have a professional sports franchise is beyond me, because the amount of money in that community, that is Silicon Valley South. That is nuts down there.
That should be viewed as a real threat.
Yes.
But what Major League Baseball wants to do is, if you expand by 2 teams and add 1 in the West and 1 in the East, you want to have divisions of 4. And regionally, it makes sense more to have Portland or Salt Lake City out west, because then all of a sudden you have, the AL West would look something like the Mariners,
Portland,
the Angels, the A's, and
Giants.
Portland. AL West. The AL West would look that way.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
In if they moved them to the NL West, then you're looking at the Giants, the Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Portland. I don't like that one that much. I think what you would have is more of a.
How do you do the I-5?
You would go 4 teams out west would be the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and then Diamondbacks down south.
Okay.
And just have your California
Arizona
League.
Okay.
Down there, where 3 of the 4
and then have
California.
Portland travel like they do in NBA.
Yeah, but AL West makes the most sense because of Seattle, the regionality of it,
and then like an NL Mountain.
And they would have 4 divisions or 8 divisions of 4 teams and have these 4-team pods. Portland and Salt Lake City seem to be the ones that everybody out west is talking about. And Salt Lake is probably the biggest threat right now, because they just launched a year ago their Big League Utah campaign. They already have a minor league stadium that they want to expand. They want to build a new ballpark. They have the infrastructure to do it already. But this is why...
And they have a public face with billions.
And this is why the Portland Diamond Project still working behind the scenes, despite what people want to admit. Portland does make the most sense. It's the largest city without more than one professional sports franchise. And I say this all the time. Portland is not a bad sports town. It's not.
It just has one of the big 3 sports.
But the 3 at the top of the level in America that we do have, everybody.
They back out.
Everybody goes to Blazers, Thorns, Timbers games. Yeah. There's no question.
You throw the Portland Beavers out here.
People will go.
Yeah.
People will go.
Come on, Red Tail.
But that's why the land deal is in. Make no mistake, all of these conversations they have ongoing with Major League Baseball. That red tail announcement last month or earlier this month is exactly why you do it at that time. Right before spring training happens, you have this, hey, 164 acres. It would be the largest ballpark
complex
mini city that they're building now of any in all of Major League. I was reading here that'd be twice the size of the Battery, which is in Atlanta. And I went down to it. Dirt and I were roaming around.
Both
Atlanta,
you guys
half in the bag.
Absolutely thrilled about that place.
It was one of the coolest things. Twice as big. Let's go.
Sign you up.
And there are real legs, and these conversations aren't going away. The Portland Diamond Project is here. I hope in the next 5 years we get this announcement. I'm not holding my breath on it because we know how these things go. But at the same time, look, Manfred wants to hang his hat as commissioner of baseball of expanding Major League Baseball to 32 teams. It's going to happen. I hope it's in Portland.
Absolutely.
I hope to God it's in Portland, because how awesome would it be?
Oh, you kidding me? Selfishly, that would be dope to cover.
It would be.
Imagine getting off air and be like, we're going to go cover the baseball game.
That'd be great.
I would be all about that.
I'd be all over going to those games. And sign me up for 4 team pods in Major League Baseball, which would make sense.
Oh, yeah, divisionally, yeah. Makes the
divisions,
scheduling and how
and look,
travel, all that stuff.
Some of the other areas that are in competition, like everybody brings up San Jose. Good luck trying to pry San Jose out of the San Francisco Giants
out of their market. Yeah,
they're not going
to.
Territorial rights are big.
And that's insane money.
And you move down in Portland, in the Mariners being in Portland being in the Mariners territory. That is a fight, but it ain't going to be one as big as just mere miles away, San Jose and San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Coming up next, from relocation to All-Star games, could Portland get an NBA one? First, it's Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Enjoy some Kahlua Pig Terry Chicken and an island cocktail at Burnside, Woodstock, or order online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on The Fan, still a dark night in the NBA as players regroup from All-Star Weekend. A 12-game slate tomorrow night in the association, though. TNT doubleheader with the Suns at the Mavericks in the early game, followed by the Lakers at the Warriors. The Blazers return to action Friday night, hosting the Nuggets. Oregon men's basketball looking to gain some momentum to close out the regular season. At third in the Pac-12, the Ducks are at the Stanford Cardinal tomorrow night. We'll have coverage right here on The Fan starting at 7:30, tip at 8 o'clock, and can also be seen on ESPN2. Oregon State men looking to snap a 6-game skid tomorrow night at Cal. That'll be a 7 o'clock tip on the Pac-12 network. And number 9, Oregon State women's coach Scott Rueck has been named to the Naismith College Coach of the Year watch list. The Beavers in the preseason were picked to finish 10th in the Pac-12. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
You're invited to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver. Sign your threesome up at 1080thefan.com.
Well, if this isn't appropriate music for the NBA All-Star game, I don't know what it is. The NBA
appropriate?
Yes. Why? Because it's not going to happen.
I was going to say that the NBA All-Star game is nothing close to Stone Cold.
Oh no, I was saying in the sense of like it's never going to happen.
Okay.
You're getting a Stone Cold response because the NBA has upped its requirements for a host city to host an NBA All-Star game.
Oh boy.
The Portland Trailblazers and President Dwayne Hankins are on record as wanting to submit a bid for the 2030 All-Star game. The hope was that the new hotels would be finished, that the updates to Moda Center would be done, that renovations around the arena would be done. Well, it doesn't matter. In the
The Rock. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. See, Stone Cold Rock, tying it all together. This is why 3 new requirements have been announced by the NBA. 7,250 available hotel rooms and a minimum of 3 5-star hotels. 3. Portland just completed their second.
Okay. So we're already out there.
You're out by the hotels and you're out by the rooms.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2, a convention center of 650,000 square
What
feet
are they doing
of
in this?
exhibition space.
Why do they need that much space?
The combined expo and convention center spaces are under 600,000.
About 550 with the expo center and the convention center.
And
combined.
that's neither of them are even close singularly, and neither of them are right next to Moda.
Well, convention
Well,
center.
convention center. I mean, expo center is nowhere. The bigger one is nowhere near Moda.
Yeah. I don't. But why? Why do they need all that space? What are they needing that space for?
They do all the marketing stuff and experience stuff there. They like it's a big deal.
Okay, use the Coliseum for the experience stuff, and then you can use
It's not
the
a ton of open
convention
space
center.
unless you like push all the seats back and use the floor.
Yeah, do all that experience stuff in there, right next to Moda Center, and then you have the convention center. I just don't understand why. Like, what the hell they need all that space for? I mean, that is a
vendor stuff.
Wild amount of space.
The other part of this, they also said, is it also requires 75 nonstop domestic flights and at least 20 international flights.
Well, we got a great airport. They're going to be finished by 2030.
Yeah, that's supposed. How long have they been working on that now?
I mean, it doesn't fit the criteria of all the flights leaving, but we can make that happen.
I think it might be close.
Are they
75 nonstop? Because 20 international is going to be dicey.
Yeah,
I bet you the nonstops are good. I bet you the international isn't.
Okay.
20 international flights a day.
Golly. Well, all they're saying right now is that when you say that, my mind goes to LA, Vegas, Houston,
maybe Miami.
That's where they want.
They said we are not going to have snow at an All-Star game again. Which it's interesting because Indianapolis fits this with the exception of the 5 stars. Did you know that Indianapolis doesn't have a 5-star?
Oh, really?
They have a crap ton of 4 stars. No 5 stars.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I can't say I've been up on my.
I believe the nicest hotel in Indianapolis is the Westin, which is a really nice 4-star.
There's 66 domestics out of PDX.
See that? I mean,
nonstop domestics.
Mild expansion, you get that. That one's easier. The international, I feel like, is tougher.
Okay.
But this is. I don't know why they're just not doing it in Vegas. All-Star should be in Vegas. I would be dope to do it here for once. I think it'd be cool. I'd be all about it. It'd be fun to have everybody here. There's when you're talking about the space, the exhibition space, and the additional hotel rooms and all that. Part of All-Star now is in NBA trying to grow the game. They sell these experience packages globally to these millionaires and billionaires that fly in from all over the world and do these meet and greets and the NBA experience things that you can buy.
Yeah.
And they make a crap ton of money on them.
Yeah.
These are all done behind the scenes. You don't go to Costco and book these.
You're not going to Costco to get. Well, maybe you are. Maybe
you might get a flight package with a hotel, like a 2-star hotel built in to Indianapolis.
Well, tell me something I didn't already know. The city of Portland never going to get an All-Star game. Now the NBA is just telling us
flat out saying good
bluntly,
luck.
Never going to happen.
Yeah, because
all right.
I don't think they're ever going to get another 3-star here. I could be wrong.
After watching it, don't want it. Don't want it.
No,
don't want it.
I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to cover.
Nope, I'm saying this right now.
selfishly.
Yeah.
I'd want to cover it.
I would too, but I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I don't want it
Wow.
because I know I'm never gonna have one. So this is gonna be the you can't dump me. I already dumped you.
That's fair. I respect that position.
Get out of here with that.
It's a good play. Like it's a fair card to play.
That's right.
Your heart can't be broken if you break it yourself.
I'm already on. We don't have like the international flights clearly lined out here, as we did the domestic flights. But it does look like there's not 20 international flights leaving Portland every day.
Yeah,
we may get there by the time all these Canada and Los Cabos flights get in. Guadalajara, anybody?
I think I maybe saw Sean Hyken break it down or something, but I think Portland has about 11.
11.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm looking at that. That's tracking right now.
Because most of the international flights, you have a connecting flight out of here. You either go to Seattle, San Diego, DFW.
I'm counting 7 for today.
Or Denver/New York, Baltimore. So, that's kind of how things go.
All right, so Portland never getting an All-Star game.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Perfect, great.
So there you
Glad
go.
to hear it.
Put a nice little bow on that. Never getting baseball, never getting an All-Star. Womp, 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 womp. All right, coming up, we'll put a nice little bow on today's show before we hand you off to Isaac and Suk, and I'm sure they'll just tell you how great it is that Portland's getting baseball and an All-Star. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. brain doesn't work sometimes. I just
No.
had to ask Dusty, who is this?
Rowdy Roddy Piper.
And I totally, Rowdy Piper disappeared for like, I think as you get older, things fall out your ear hole that were once just earworms. And this was one of them. Until you said his name, I forgot his existence on this planet.
God.
No, it just happened.
Wow, that's sacrilegious here.
I got old right then and there.
My goodness. I don't even know how to respond to that. He's a local legend.
I need to dive back into my wrestling.
Portland Wrestling Zone.
That's what you're telling me.
Came here to chew some bubble gum and kick some ass. Looks like I'm about out of bubble gum.
That's right.
It's a great line.
That's Rust in the YouTube comment section today. Hell yeah. Out of bubble gum. Whooping that ass now. This is the lull of the professional sports calendar, right?
No, NBA season is just getting the swing.
No, I'm talking post All-Star break. And this is the beauty of what the NFL does with their calendar is they have something
always.
And like we just
Combine's
got done
in what, 2 weeks?
I think isn't it next week?
Next week?
I think it's next week. Yeah, next week in Indy.
February 26th to March 4th.
Yeah. The combine
damn.
They went from franchise tag day on Tuesday, which there's no mistake why they did it on Tuesday following President's Day and All-Star weekend. Then you have your March 1 cuts that are going to be happening. Teams are already doing that. So they're clearing the deck for salary cap space moving forward.
For Jamal Adams.
There's going to be a ton of guys. Big names are going to hit the free agent pool that's already loaded. Khalil Mack. Hell, there's conversations that because Mack and Bosa each account for